Okay, this lesson has a title of, well, you can read it. 8M4 lesson 18. There is only one line passing through a given point with a given slope. But in reality, what it's mostly about is y equals mx plus b form, what the b means, and how to graph a line that's in y equals mx plus b form. So that's what it's really about. Again, we're going to look at some equations written in y equals mx plus b form, learn what the b means, and then learn how to graph the lines without using charts. That's what the lesson's about. This title, we touch on it briefly, but that's not really quite as important as the graphing and what is b. So let's get going on today's lesson. And here we go with our sketch pad. So we're going to start off with, lesson 17 taught us all about m. It taught us about m in y equals mx plus b form. And what we learned is that m is the slope, right? And if it's positive, let's look at these three lines. Here we have a line of y equals 2x plus 5. It has a, positive slope. And so we have our slope is 2, or 2 over 1, same thing. So our rise over our run, so if we take a point here like -2, 1, and we go up to, this is 1, because this is 1, 2, 3. So if we come up here, we come up 2 and over 1, we get to this other point. And this point is -2, 1, and this point here is 1, 3. We went up 2 and over 1, and so there's our slope of 2, right? Similarly, if we can just leave that here, 2 and 1. Here, similarly, if we go up 2, this is -3, this is -1. If we go up 2, right here, our slope, m, is 2/3. So we rise 2 and we run 3. So we go up 2, 1, 2, and we go over 3, 1, 2, 3, and we get to our other point here. So that's a positive slope of 2/3, and so we can see here that 2/3 is indeed our slope. And over here, our slope is -3, which is the same thing as -3 over 1. So in this case, we rise -3 and we run 1. So a rise of -3 is going down 3. So here we're at a half, so we go down 1, 2, 3 to here, and then we go over 1. So down 3 over 1, -3, 1, and that is indeed our slope, -3. So our slope here is all consistent. Now the question is what is this concept of b, and how can we relate to this graph? How can we relate to the graph, to these numbers? And we had a clue from our last lesson. When near the end of the last lesson, if you recall, I kind of said, take a look at this. That's our b, right? Our b, kind of right here. And then how does that relate to our y-intercept, to this number here? And I kind of gave you the hint. Where do we cross the y-axis? And how does that number relate to our, and let me get some of this stuff out of the way perhaps so we can read it. Whoops, wrong thing. Let's select the right thing. Get those things out of the way so you can actually read what we're trying to do here. Okay, so I want you to now connect this number here to the place that the lines cross the y-intercept. And so for those of you that notice and have figured this out and can connect it, and it's okay if you didn't, the fact of the number is that this number is what they call the y-intercept. This is the number, this number in all cases, whether it's a integer or a decimal number, The B is where the line crosses the y-axis. This is also called the y-intercept. The y-intercept is where a line crosses the y-axis. So here, positive plus 5, this line that's graphed will cross the y-axis at 0, 5. Similarly, on this line, where our b is negative 3, we cross the y-axis at 0, negative 3. Likewise, here we have a positive 4.5. So we cross the this line will cross the y-axis at 4.5. So now I think you're starting to see the power of y equals mx plus b format. This m and this b tell us a lot about these lines. Now, you might be asking, why does this always work? Well, the reason it works is because when the y-axis, what is true on the y-axis? All points, I'm writing this on the bottom, on y-axis have x value of 0, right? This point is 0, 5 because the line crosses the y-axis at 0, 5. And this, all points on the y-axis have an x value of 0. Similarly, here we cross the x-axis, the y-axis at 0, -3. So we have an x value of 0 and a y value of -3. It's just by definition almost. Here, this line crosses the y-axis at 0, 4.5. And we know that all points, so that's point number 1. Point number 2 is all points on a line make equation true. So if I take this point 0, 5 and plug it into y equals 2x plus 5, it's got to make the equation true. So if I write y equals 2x plus 5, and I want to plug in the point 0, 5, I say, well, if I put a 0 in for x, I get y equals 2 times 0, which will always be 0, plus 5. So y equals 5. So when x is 0, y is 5. Right? And you're going to see this pattern over and over. So here, 0, -3. So if I say y equals 2/3 x minus 3, I want y to be -3 when I put a 0 in for x. And of course it will be, because y equals 2/3 times my 0 minus 3. So y equals -3. So when x is 0, y is -3. And you'll see that over and over. So if I put here y equals -3x plus 4.5, and I put a 0 in for x, I should get a 4.5 out. So y equals -3 times 0 plus 4.5. So y equals 4.5 when x equals 0. So you can see why the b has to be this y-intercept. So that's the first part of the lesson. B is our y-intercept. M from lesson 17 is our slope. Now let's take a look at some lines and see how we can graph them. knowing this very powerful information. So we're going to graph. Now, what we were doing in 16 and 17 is we were graphing, but with charts. So we'd make our chart, we'd do like this, and we'd say, well, x and y, and so 2/3 x minus 4. We'd say, well, when x is 0, 2/3 of 0 minus 4, y is -4. When x is 3, 2/3 of 3 minus 4 is -2. We make these XY charts like this, but we're not going to do that. We're just going to graph this with the power of what we've learned, and we're going to graph straight out. And watch how cool this is. This is totally, totally cool. So I'm going to make us a graph, and we are going to graph this line using the basics of knowing what B and M mean. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to find the y, find and graph the y-intercept. And that'll be a point that's on the line. And then B, we're going to use the slope and knowledge of rise over run to graph one or more additional points. And then C, we're going to just draw the line. Okay, so those are our steps. And watch how easy and powerful what we've just learned is. We can do this with very little math. So let's graph, we'll graph in blue, my favorite color. So where is our y-intercept? So that's point A on this graph. Where's our y-intercept? Our y-intercept is -4. So 0, -4. So let's graph that. 1, 2, 3, -4 right here. So this is 0, -4. Let me draw some more hash marks here because we're going to need them. That's a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, now we're going to use our knowledge of slope and rise over run. So B, our slope is what? Our slope is 2/3. That's our M. So if our slope is 2/3, we need to, from any point on the line, we rise to, and we run 3. So we run 3. So we're going to find another point on this. So we know this is on the line. So we go up to 1, 2, and over 3. And that point is 3, -2. And then we can rise and run again. We can rise 2 and go over 3 because we can do this for any 2 points. And so this is 6, 0. If we want to do it again, we go rise 2 and over 3 if we wanted to keep going. And notice how this makes, we keep making a straight line. So now we can draw our line. And there you have it. We have graphed y equals 2/3 x minus 4. And what we should be able to do as well, and right, this is 9, 2. Any of these points should satisfy this equation. So we could, just for fun, just check this out. Y equals 2/3 x minus 4. And we should be able to plug in, we'll plug in 9, 2. And we'll see if that works. And it better work. So we'll put, there's our y, and there's our, 9 is our x. So this should make a true statement. 2, does that equal 2/3 of 9 is 6 minus 4. So 2 equals 2. Check. So we indeed have done the right thing here. So let's do this one more time. Let's do this one more time, and we'll actually, this is kind of already into homework help, really, because this is all your homework is. It's going to be doing this over and over and over again, because this is a very important skill in algebra. They really want to ingrain this skill in your knowledge and memory bank. This is a tool that you're going to be using in geometry, algebra 2, all the way into calculus. This is immeasurably important. So here we have to identify our slope and our y-intercept. Okay, so I want you to do that. Pause and try. Make sure you can identify these two key numbers. And remember that our m is our rise over our run. And we're going to use that information to graph. And this b is our y-intercept. Okay, well, hopefully you identified that our b is positive 2. And our m is negative 1/2. So if we're going to graph this guy, we must graph our y-intercept. Again, we're going to find and graph our y-intercept. And so that's 0, 2. 0, 2. We're going to do that in blue, my favorite color, 0, 2. Then we're going to use our rise over our run. So we're going to rise -1 and run 2. So rising -1 means going down 1, and we're going to run 2. We always run to the right. Let's keep going. Down 1 over 2. Down 1 over 2. Down 1 over 2. Down 1 over 2. We can keep doing that forever and ever, but I think we have enough points. So we are going to make our line. And we're going to call it good. And we could label some points here. This would be 2, 1. This would be 4, 0. This would be 6, -1. This would be 8, -2. And any of these points should satisfy this equation. Does anyone want to test it? We'll test it quickly with 8, -2. So we'll say y equals -1/2 x plus 2. We'll test it with 8, -2. So we'll say, does -2 equal -1/2 of 8 plus 2? Putting our 8 in for x and our -2 in for y. And we get, does -2 equal -4 plus 2? Does -2 equal -2? You betcha. Happy cat. Happy cat. Happy cat. Let's do this a couple more times. I'm actually going to call this homework help. We're just going to go ahead and label this. We're going to call this what it is. This is homework help. This is what you're going to be doing over and over on your homework. So we have to identify our B and our M, our B here. Why don't you just pause and try? And then on our homework help, I'm going to give you something a little bit trickier, but you should be able to hopefully do these now. This is kind of an asterisk, a double diamond, a double black diamond, for those of you who know skiing, a little bit trickier. But I think you'll be able to figure it out, and I'll help you through it. So pause and try both of these guys, and I will be back shortly. Okay, hopefully you gave it a whirl and you're back. And I'm going to make two graphs here. And we're going to just knock these out and then be on our merry way. Okay. All right, now let's go to pencil mode, put our arrows, because arrows always, you know, why do we put the arrows on? Uh-oh, I lost my line. Arrows tell us that these things go on forever, infinitely in both directions, and that's an important concept. So these graphs go infinitely up, down, right, and left. Okay, so our B here is +1, right? That's our B, and our M here is 3. Let's go into blue mode, my favorite color. B is 3, and 3 is the same thing, remember, as 3 over 1. So we rise over run, we rise 3, and we run 1. Okay, the first thing we do is we graph our B, which is 0, 1. Then we're going to rise 3 and run 1. So from this point, we go 1, 2, 3, run 1. Rise, keep going, right? 1, 2, 3, rise 1. 1, 2, 3, rise 1. Or sorry, it's rise 3, run 1. And then we can just graph this guy. And look at how fast we can go once we really know what we're doing. We can just really crank this out fast. So once we have something in y equals mx plus b form, you can just really, and I'll just label these. Sorry, this is 1, 4. This here was 2, 7. And you can test, we can go backwards, and we can verify that the slope is indeed 3. Watch what we do when we go backwards. Remember, we can take any 2 points. So I'm just going to do this for fun. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And we get 7 minus 1 over 2 minus 0 equals 6 over 2 equals 3. And so our slope is indeed 3. So I'm just kind of going backwards and forwards. And this was totally, completely unnecessary. But I thought it would be cool. And I'll just lay down a happy cat. And a happy cat because it's cool to do. All right, good. So here we don't know what our B is. But the reason is because our B is kind of hidden. And our M is kind of hidden. Because we can rewrite this as y equals 1x. And then we can rewrite that as y equals 1x plus 0. Now, if you didn't figure that out earlier, now try and graph this using your M and your B. Well, your B is 0. So if our y-intercept is 0, then we're right here. It's 0, 0. And our M of 1 is equal to 1 over 1. So we go up 1 over 1, 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 up 1 over 1. And I did it kind of fast, so it's not perfect, but here we go. And there you have it. Happy cat. Happy cat, happy cat. So y equals mx plus b, very, very powerful. So now what I want to do is just go explain the lesson title. There is only one line passing through a given point with a given slope. Now, I'm just going to hand wave this kind of. I'm not going to prove this to you in any formal way, but I do want to just kind of show you that it kind of makes sense at least. And this is why. So if I have a line, and we learned this when we said y equals 1/2 x minus 4. If you take your b of -4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is 0, minus 4. And our slope of up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2. I mean, there's no other way that if there's a line that goes through this point and goes up 1 over 2, you can't have, I mean, it's kind of tough. I don't know how I can explain it any better other than to just show it to you one more time. Mr. Lipscomb, you've done this 10 times already today. But what other line could possibly, what other point, other line, if any, could possibly pass through 0, -4. So it's got to go through this line and have rise over run be 1/2. So if what other point, if a point went like, if a line instead went like kind of like, let me switch colors here. If a line kind of was steeper and went through this point like this, this would have a steeper slope. Which would have a steeper slope. If a line went through like this, it would have a negative slope. So there is no other line that has, and so this would have a slope like, 2 over 1, and this would have a slope of like -1/2. So there's only one line that goes through this point and has exactly this rise over the run. And so that's just kind of a hand wave, kind of an explanation. I don't know if it helps you at all, but that's the title of the lesson. But remember, what's key about this lesson is not the title. What's key is this is our y-intercept, and the other piece is this, how you graph a line that's in y equals mx plus b form. One other thing, let me just write this out. Y equals mx plus b form is also called slope intercept form. And the reason is because this is our slope and this is our intercept, and they are written into the equation form. So anytime it says y equals mx plus b, I have the slope and the intercept written for me, and so they call it slope intercept form. Now let's do some problems. So this is our final piece, homework help. I'm going to do this kind of quickly. What I want you to do is put this equation into y equals mx plus b form, then graph the y-intercept, then graph another point using, and maybe more points. I would encourage you to do, I would encourage 3 points. I might even do 5 when I'm doing, because I get carried away. I might do 5 points. Okay, so pause and try. Pause and try. And I'm going to come back and I'm going to kind of whip this out and then we'll be done. I know I'm kind of running over time. All right, pause and try. And I'm just going to okay, here we are. We're ready to go. All right, 2x minus y equals 4, minus x equals negative 2x plus 4. Because I subtracted 2x from both sides. I'm going to now multiply by negative 1 on both sides. And I get y equals 2x minus 4. So that's part A. Part B, we're going to find our y-intercept is 0, negative 4. So we go 1, 2, 3, 0, negative 4. No, Mr. Lipscomb. Ha, ha, ha. Trying to trick me. Nope. 0, negative 4 is down here. And then we're going to go our slope. Our slope is 2 or 2 over 1. So we go up 2 over 1. And I'm going to go up 2 over 1. I'm going to do this. I'm going to keep doing it until I can make a straight line. And now I'm going to go boom, 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 boom. Happy cat. Positive slope, so we go up, left to right. Got it nailed. All right, we're going to do this one more time, and then we're going to be over and done. Uh-oh. A little trickier, but I think we can do it. I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to make our graph, and then you need to pause and try. Do not just sit here and watch me do this. I want you to put pencil to paper and make this happen. All right. So now I assume you've paused. And tried it. So now we have 2x plus 3y equals 12. We're going to subtract 2x from both sides, and we get 3y equals negative 2x plus 12. We divide everything by 3, all terms by 3. We get y equals negative 2/3 x plus 4. So our y-intercept is 0, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we're going to do it in blue. All right. So 0, 4 is our first thing we do. 0, 4. And now we rise negative 2, which is falling, and then we run 3. We always run to the right. So we go down 2 over 3, down 2 over 3, down 2 over 3, down 2 over 3. And now we make our line. And now we make our arrows. We wait for our stupid thing to, okay. And now we meticulously draw our happy cat. And we spin our happy cat. And then we say, it is time for us to be done with math, Mr. Lipscomb. So let's get out of here. And let's just say we kick tail. We have learned how to graph lines without doing charts. We know how to take a line or an equation that's in y equals mx plus b format, and we know how to graph it, and we are powerful, and we feel strong, and we are ready to have a great sleep and get back to math tomorrow. I will see you on lesson 19. Good work. Over and out.